Previously, Shen struck a deal with Yang before leaving. On the way, he reminded Gu that he had told her it was just a joke, but she remained unhappy. Back in the village, Gu's mother was crying, blaming the village chief for sending her daughter off with that man. Just then, she noticed them approaching in the distance. They had arrived back. Now to this week's chapter. Gu rushed into her mother's arms, overjoyed to be back. Her mother hugged her tightly, smiling with relief and gratitude that her daughter was safe. As they embraced, Gu cheerfully remarked that Shen had protected her throughout the mission. Meanwhile, Shen casually tossed the boss's pelt at the village chief. As he did, he thought about how much of a hassle it had been to collect it, recalling the effort it took to bring down the hidden boss. The village chief smiled, clearly pleased, and commented that she had expected Shen to fail. However, she acknowledged that since he succeeded, he was no ordinary person. She then glanced at Gu and thought to herself that it was a relief the girl had returned safely. If Gu hadn't come back, her mother would have caused a significant problem for her. The village chief reached into her clothing and pulled out a scroll. She held it out to Shen and remarked that this was what he had requested. Holding the scroll firmly, she explained that it was the meeting place for levels 20 to 40. She added that he must follow the rules while being there. She cautioned him, noting that the difficulty level was higher than his current level. However, if he waited a month, it would become more manageable. Still, she left the decision up to him, reminding him that this was a hidden map, making it more challenging than usual. She added that the rewards were better but urged him to be careful. The system announced that the mission was completed as Shen caught the map. He looked at the village chief and assured her that he would be fine. She nodded, thinking it was good that he was planning to leave soon. Just then, Gu's expression turned sad as she looked up at Shen and asked if he was going to leave now. Shen thought about how much of a headache she had been, but he couldn't deny that he had some fun along the way. Smirking, he decided to tease her, asking if she wanted to come with him. Before Gu could respond, her mother grabbed her instantly, pulling her close. She glared at Shen and shouted angrily, calling him a scoundrel. She accused him of flirting with her daughter and demanded he stop. Meanwhile, Gu was cringing internally, thinking about how embarrassing her mother was being. Shen, on the other hand, laughed inwardly, finding the situation amusing. Just then, Gu threw a tantrum, shouting that she wanted to go with Shen. She screamed at her mother, insisting that she could handle it. Her mother, trying to calm her down, firmly stated that it was too dangerous for her since she was still just a kid. Meanwhile, Shen watched the scene unfold, silently relieved that he didn't have to deal with the drama. Just then, Gu's mother shot a sharp look at Shen and told him to hurry and leave, since he had already gotten what he wanted. She couldn't help but think about how much of a pain Shen had been for her and her family since the first time they met. Shen, however, remembered his new title and thought about how he still wanted more rewards. He spoke up, commenting that the item the village chief had wanted was a rare one, and that the map she gave him seemed like an unfair trade, especially since she had initially expected him to fail. The village chief caught onto what he meant and, though she understood, she thought it wouldn't matter in the long run. She commented that Shen had agreed to the terms of the mission and now seemed to want to take advantage of the situation, especially since he had discovered just how rare the item he got for her was. Shen looked at her calmly and replied that he wasn't trying to take advantage, just seeking a fair trade. He then added that everyone he'd met in this place didn't offer good rewards unless he pushed them a little. Casting a glance at Gu's mother as he spoke, Shen lifted his finger, and with a flash of golden light, his title changed. The light exploded with a massive glow as he commented, "He is the wolf-killing hero, and this is how this village treats him." The village chief, feeling the weight of his new title, covered her eyes, unable to ignore its effect. Realizing she had no choice but to treat him with more respect, she reluctantly commented that he should take the extra reward now. Shen smiled, thinking to himself that they should have just done that from the start. The system then announced his reward, an epic skill called Power Strike. To maximize the damage, he would need to charge an arrow for 7 seconds. The skill would double the range, add a 50% increased attack area, and have a piercing effect that dealt 500% damage based on his agility. Shen smiled as he read through the details, thinking to himself that the village chief had such rare skills hidden away in her pockets. Moments later, Shen tried out the new skill. He pulled back the arrow, charged it for the full 7 seconds, and released it with a powerful shot. The arrow made a massive hole in the mountain, its impact evident even from the other side of the sea. Shen couldn't help but comment on how effective and amazing the skill was. Without hesitation, he spent 20 silver coins to learn it fully, eager to master its power. He marveled at the long-range impact, impressed by how far the skill allowed him to strike. The village chief smiled, pleased with his reaction. She reminded him that such power was to be expected, as she had given him an epic skill. Shen smiled, realizing that despite everything, the village chief had a kind heart. She treated those who put in hard work and effort with good rewards. Having completed everything he needed in this area, he looked over at Gu, calling her a brat and telling her he would see her next time. Gu sat still, trying to think of a plan to follow him, but Shen smiled kindly and reminded her that she should remember to grow up well. Then, in an instant, he dashed across the water at incredible speed. Gu, frustrated and caught off guard, screamed in vain as she realized she hadn't come up with a plan yet. Shen was already gone, and with a final shout, she yelled that he was heartless for leaving her behind. Time had passed, and Shen arrived at a massive sea area known as Suburb. He pulled out his map to check if he was in the correct place. Suddenly, the ground beneath him began to glow, and cracks appeared in the earth. Shen wondered if this was the result of a monster or if he had reached his destination. Before he could gather his thoughts, a massive city materialized in front of him. Glowing lights shone from every corner, illuminating the area. The system chimed in, confirming that he had arrived at Roy City. Shen could hardly believe his eyes as he took in the breathtaking sight of Roy City. The city looked incredible, with towering structures and glowing lights everywhere. He couldn't help but comment to himself that this was Roy City, and he could already tell there would be plenty of great things to discover here. He recalled his first time arriving in this place. Back then, he had been poor, starting the game with nothing. He had spent 2 months farming the bulls to gather enough resources. By the time he had finally made it to Roy City, all the hidden bosses had already been defeated, and the special quest lines had been taken by other players. Now, he was here again. But this time, everything felt different. He was stronger, more experienced, and ready to make the most of the opportunities this city had to offer. Shen's smile grew wider as he thought back to everything he had learned in his previous life. He had memorized the locations of chests, bosses, and NPCs that offered useful information, all the while keeping his eyes on his true goal. What really mattered now was the special mission that would unlock at level 40. If he completed it, he would finally have a chance to return his stats to the real world, the key to making all of this truly worthwhile. His thoughts then shifted to Ch20, the one responsible for his suffering. A bitter curse slipped from his lips as he swore that Ch20 would soon feel the pain Shen had endured. He was determined to make sure Ch20 experienced everything he had gone through, and more. The debt would be paid, and Shen promised to make him suffer, with interest. The time for revenge would come. As Shen made his way down the hill, he decided it was time to sell some of his inventory before starting a new mission in Roy City. Moments later, he arrived at the auction house, where a lady called out to the crowd, announcing that the next auction would begin shortly and urging everyone not to miss the incredible items up for bid. Walking inside, Shen couldn't help but notice the crowd of people gathered around. He understood that the large turnout was a good sign. More people meant more competition, which could drive the prices up, making it a better opportunity for him to sell his items at a good price. Just then, an NPC approached Shen and asked if he was here to bid or to auction items. Shen replied that he was there to auction. The NPC then pointed to a nearby desk, telling him to register his items there. She explained that after he took a number, his items would be auctioned in order, with a 10% handling fee. She then asked if he wanted to hide his identity during the auction. He commented that he would hide his ID and walked away. As he made his way to the registration desk, he thought to himself that he didn't mind people bothering him, but he understood that hiding his ID would prevent him from being bombarded with guild invitations and endless party requests. It would be too much of a hassle, and he figured it was better to keep a low profile for now. Meanwhile, a man called out to the crowd, announcing that the next item was up for auction, number 183. He mentioned that they had a special person to showcase it. Shen paused, intrigued by what kind of item it could be. The announcer then stated that she had arrived with the item, and a lady stepped forward. The moment she appeared, the crowd, both NPCs and players, were captivated by her beauty and charm. She greeted everyone with a smile, and her presence seemed to enchant the entire room. Shen noticed a few people in the crowd drooling, clearly mesmerized by her, while he thought to himself that they were a bit odd. Meanwhile, the announcer continued, revealing that the item up for auction was the Ring of Greed, a bronze-level ring. He explained that anyone could wear it, with no class requirements, and players only needed to be at least level 1. The ring offered a +10 to luck, a special effect of increasing the drop rate by 5%, and an additional 5% boost to money earned. One player scoffed, commenting that it was just bronze junk, and at most, it would be worth 5 silver. Another player countered, pointing out that the ring would likely have a much higher value because the woman holding it was showcasing it. Shen watched, intrigued, as the conversation unfolded. The name of the ring sparked something in his memory. He soon realized that the Ring of Greed was far rarer than most people thought. It only came in 2 grades, bronze and diamond. This was no ordinary ring, and its diamond grade version would be incredibly valuable. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like. It really helps me out.